Okay, I'm back. Tape right now. So from the switch, it's going to the voltage. Okay, now I'm going to solder my switch on, and I'm just going to do it one step at a time, building up from the switch, so I don't screw myself up and I don't skip anything. I'm going to be soldering the half the switch right to the spring. I'm going to be soldering my LEDs in, so I'm going to zoom in and you can just follow along. Everything I showed you on this paper, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. First off is that switch. One wire from the switch goes through the hole. If I could find my solder. You just heat up the lump a little bit with your soldering iron. Add a little bit more solder to it. Get that wire connected. The other side of the switch is going to be going to the regulator in a minute. Next thing I'm going to do, red LED for power on. While you're building this thing, you want to keep in mind what it's going to look like when you're done. Switch on one side, LEDs on the other. That way you can see them when you're hitting it. I usually put the button on the bottom when I'm hitting it. You can do it either way you want. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to solder this running light LED up opposite the switch like this on the other side, and I'm going to solder my two green wires from the regulator into the two negatives on this circuit board. So I'll be back in a second. Now when you're getting your LED wires and everything manipulated, I paused it for a second because sometimes it takes a few minutes. But basically, you want to look at how it's going to be in the end and remember it. If you've seen my other videos, I've done a little bit more detail. This one might be a little less detail, but you want to do it step by step, making sure to leave yourself enough room for everything. Giving yourself a little extra wire in the LED when you have to, because you may have to bend it and manipulate it to get it just in the right spot. This, if you can see it, is my negative on my flashing green LED. Right now I just want to solder on the negative to the outside of the circuit board. Later the positive is going to come together with this other side of the switch and the voltage in on the regulator. Now you can see how I got these two LEDs coming out this side and my switch coming out the other side. If that's not long enough, I'm going to be mad. Okay, there. Now it's long enough. There we go. You want to make sure both of them, the switch and the LEDs, come far enough away from this circuit board so that they will come out of the JB Weld lump at the end. And basically going across from each other. Then you want to make sure that you can get the regulator right here on the thing. So let me solder these two negatives from the regulator onto the negative spots on the circuit board, and I'll be back in a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I told you the wrong thing. You don't solder both of these ground connections from the regulator to the circuit board. One of them is going to come up the voltage out and the ground connection. These two are going to come up to the atomizer connector. So I twist those together. Voltage in goes right here. This is voltage in. This goes to the switch, and it also goes to my flashing green LED, which is the running light. So only one of these goes down to the circuit board. Does that make sense to everybody? Alright, great. So now this thing's coming together. This is one of the ground connections from the regulator. It's getting soldered to the outside ring, which is negative again on the circuit board. Also, at this time, I'm going to take a wire, nice long one, nice long green one, strip the end, and I'm going to attach it to the negative. It's going to be attached to the body of the flashlight, like I was saying before, for a permanent ground connection. So if you can see that, which I think you can, just heat up those same ground connections